It's the Buddy Martin Show, Gator Collective Corner tonight. I'm Buddy Martin. The program airs Monday through Thursday, and maybe on the weekend. You never know. Tonight we have a good group of people talking about college football and specifically the Florida Gators and how they will fare. They'll join us next on the program. Stay tuned right here, right now. The Buddy Martin Show Gator Collective Corner is on the air. Tell your friends and neighbors.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Buddy Martin Show. It's football season. Can you feel it? Can you smell it? Yes, you can. It's in the air. It's on the TV. It's everywhere. 5 straight days of heaven. College football. There were times we weren't sure we'd see this day again. It's been a long couple of years, but things are trending up. I know you're watching ball tonight. A couple of good games on. One in particular. Involving West Virginia and Pitt in the backyard brawl. I always wonder why they let them call that, but you can't call it the world's largest outdoor cocktail. Okay, I get it. Anyway, so yeah, that's going on. And tonight on the program, we're going to have a roundtable discussion of the fortunes of Florida football with some of the most knowledgeable people around. That would be my partner, Ben Troop, is out tonight. He is his birthday. Happy birthday, Ben. I know you're only 29 again, but I don't have the song, but I'll just say congratulations to you. And here's a little party noise. There you go. Doing it for Ben. So happy birthday to you, Ben. And coming up in just a minute, Scott Carter, one of our favorites, will be joining us tonight to talk about setting the scene for Saturday at the Swamp. How do you feel about it? I've got ambivalent feelings, and I've kind of beginning to change my feelings now since the first of the week. I wrote a column today I'll tell you about, a little bit of that, and how I think about this. It's a big day, as big an opening day as I can remember, and I've been around a long time doing this. So we'll discuss that. What's the moment you're waiting for? What's the thing you're most excited about? What's your favorite thing to do going to a ball game? You share it tonight on the here with us on the message boards, and we'd like to hear about it. Good evening to Dan Bond from Dallas. He's on the pole position tonight. Becky Smith-Carline missed it by 1. Usually she's first. Eric Newton, hello to you, Dilly Dilly. Christopher White, how about that? Gator football is almost here. You're correct. It is really here, isn't it? David Baldoff. And no Dilly Dilly tonight? Well, there it is. Dilly Dilly G&K. People say, what is G&K? Well, we'll explain, but it stands for Gator Nation Kingdom, which has changed several times, but all the people who started with me 5 years ago, they know what that means. So thank you very much. And even Jen Lay is on tonight. How about that? Jen Lay is joining us. Terry Johnson, John Panghorn, Nat Blaylock, Howard Lovering, David, Curlange Denard. We're ready for a great season. Thank you, buddy, for all your strong support. Queenie Kwanda Arnold. Bubba Ennis, what's up, Bubba? Man, it's been a long time since we heard from you. One of our real good friends. Cindy Deesmith, happy birthday to Ben. Happy birthday, Ben, from Mary Helen McCollum. Jennifer Lay, I feel good. We have climate. We have the home field advantage. I see Jen's back, by the way. She did a great job with Marcia Meadows on the chomp, on the pledge. If you haven't heard about it, we'll play it later. It's the new Orange and Blue Blood Pledge, which we're gathering people to do. Bubba Ennis is going to be tailgating. Nat Blaylock back talking. Anyways, a lot of folks tonight. Good to see the crowd. Lauren Meadows. Yeah, so and Jerry Battagliano. So let's do this. Let's do our commercial. Scott Carter's standing by. Can't wait to talk to Scott. He wrote a really good piece this week about the last time Utah came to, well, it wasn't even the swamp then, to Florida Field to play a game. We'll talk to him about that and other things happening in Gainesville. Let's hear first from our sponsor, Jeffrey Melton. We've got some things to talk about regarding the future in the fall. Summarize real quick for me where you think the football program is headed and how Billy Napier has done to this point.
So I'll start by saying I'm a huge fan of Billy Napier. I think he's re-energized the program. I was impressed when I heard that he sat the team down and did a video recap of every penalty that the Gators made last year, which were numerous, and tried to explain the team that most penalties are avoidable. And he's making a big push on trying to create discipline within the team. So I'm a huge fan of Billy Napier. Our September schedule is the toughest in the country. We've got Utah and Kentucky and Tennessee on the horizon, and I think that the fans need to realize that we're playing excellent football teams, and they cannot get disillusioned regardless of what happens in our first year.
Wait, well, that's what always happens. That's why they're fans. They do get disillusioned. Expectations are high. I know I'm beginning to feel a little bit now for the first time, and so you can't help it when you see so many things going right. Long way to go for this team is at a high level, but I like what I see, including in the green room. It's sponsored by our friends over at Main Street Community Bank, the independent FDIC-insured, locally operated full-service bank in Ocala, offering a broad range of financial services. Main Street Community Bank, Ocala. Community is our middle name. Sponsor of the Green Room on the Buddy Martin Show, where tonight we find the one, the only, Scott Carter. What's up, Scott?
Hey, buddy. How you doing, man? What an introduction
good.
there.
Yeah, I'm feeling good, man. I didn't give you any applause, but I got to give you that, too. Hold on a second. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Scott,
That's
nice
the most
to...
applause we've got in all seasons. So.
Yeah. You deserve it for all that you do. Scott, I read the piece that you, in fact, I stole the picture and used it, full credit, of 1977 when the Utes came to the swamp. And the sign said, boot the Utes. I can't even say it right. And someone said last night, I believe it was Dan, said, we should use that sign again. I wonder if we'll see that somewhere in the stadium, boot the Utes.
Maybe somebody will update. I'm guessing that when the original one's probably a dust by now. 1977, what's that? 45 years ago.
Yeah, boy.
So you just don't see this matchup very often, but we're gonna see it in back-to-back years here next year out in the Salt Lake.
Yeah.
And I tell you, buddy, I'm like you. I'm a little excited. It's finally hit me that it's here because you see campus today. I was over there, and you can just feel the buzz. You've got a lot of activity around the stadium, and season openers are always exciting, of course. But I love this era that we're going to, and the Gators are in, where they're starting to play. I mean, they're playing real tough opponents right away. I mean, there's no guarantees in those kind of matchups, but you find out, I think, more about your team in these kind of games than you do if you're playing a Charleston Southern or Tennessee Chattanooga.
And Billy talking about how he kind of likes to have a big game because it gets you right for the season. Your brain gets right. There's so much of his game is mental, and I loved how he has addressed those mistakes. Because let's face it, you know this, you saw the games. If you took away half the mistakes that they made last year, they'd won another 2 games at least, maybe 3, who knows? And when you shoot yourself in the foot, you got no chance. So, I'm excited to see what that new offense will be like. And, someone get out there and get us a new sign that says, boot the Utes, all right? So put that back up there. So I know I started talking about uh, today about the Utah game last night, and you know the story, I'm sure, of who was the starting quarterback and who finished.
See, it was Terry LeCount started and John Brantley finished, correct?
Correct, sir. It sure did. And John even sent me a picture and texted it to me and talked about it. And it was Wes Chandler who actually did, who actually did the damage with the punt return. Yeah, I mean, Utah wasn't that big as, although they had their own little nomenclature in football with the Utah pass. Remember back in the day when it started the shuttle pass. So when you researched that, what all did you find out about that game? You talk about your story.
Yeah, I mean, the one interesting thing, with Terry LeCount, who obviously in his day, he was a little kind of a dynamic athlete. Had a huge, I think, 74-yard run early in the game, but then he gets hurt. And so John Brantley comes in, and he fired up the team at halftime. They were losing because Scott had suffered a knee injury that was going to require surgery. So
Right.
he basically got the guys fired up by saying, hey, I don't want to lose this game. I want to win this one for my brother because he's going to be in surgery tonight when this game's over. And it was an interesting little slice of history that, quite frankly, I didn't know until I started researching. So I love to take those trips down memory lane occasionally, since we haven't seen this matchup before.
Yeah, and I saw Scott last night at the Ocala Quarterback Club, where, by the way, we baptized about 50 people on the new pledge for the Orange and Blue Bloods last night.
Nice.
And Scott was there, and we talked about what he remembered about that game. And he, of course, what's really ironic is that the following year, when they played against Georgia Tech, both Scott and John Brantley had career-ending injuries against Georgia Tech.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so, I mean, so John was pretty proud. I had a bite from him last night. He said, I don't have many trivia questions about me. I said, well, you got one. You were Steve Spurrier's first quarterback, because Spurrier picked him out there in 78, whatever year it was he was there. And he started until he got hurt. So, so Scott, it's a pretty exciting time. By the way, I think Tennessee, I know they're playing a weak team, and I know that Ball State, David Letterman U is not very good. But I was just thinking about watching the scrimmage. I can just isolate what I see them do. I think they're tackling very crisp. Granted, the competition is down. I just think they look better on defense, and we know what Hendon Hooker can do in that team. I think Tennessee's going to be a handful.
Oh, I agree totally. I think the Gators caught them at the right time last year when Hooker was kind of getting settled there after transferring into the program. And now you're listening to, him being one of the top quarterbacks in the conference. So that's going to be a difficult game, I think, at Tennessee after years of really, is this the year they're going to be better, blah, blah, blah. I think Josh Heupel has them kind of going in the right direction. And, I'm all for that game being a meaningful game. I mean, I love that rivalry. It's nice when the Gators have dominated so much in the last, 16 years. But, it just adds another interesting week to the season when that rivalry is hot. And, I think this year's game is going to be a much anticipated one with especially those two quarterbacks, Hooker and Richardson. That's some dynamic quarterbacks in that one, man.
Yeah, boy, it's going to be fun. Let's see. So what are you sensing and feeling and hearing up there now about the game on Saturday? Is the tempo different? Are people a little more pep in step, or is it the same thing? It's got to feel a little different.
Oh, it's a lot different. You can just tell, like I said earlier, today around campus, man, they've got, the barricades going up around the stadium and TV trucks are there. So, it's a game week, and you're kind of reminded, it only happens 6 or 7 times a year in Gainesville when it comes alive like this. But I think around the team, I was at Napier's press conference last night at Memphis.
Right.
He's got his, as they like to say, buddy, game face. You can tell he's turning game face on. And I thought, I've told people on a couple of shows this week, it's going to be interesting with him because it doesn't matter if they win by 20 on Saturday or if they lose by 20. I think we've been around Billy Napier long enough to know that
Mm-hmm.
his demeanor is probably not going to change a
Right.
lot either way. I mean, he's a guy who's in this for the long haul. He's looking at the long road. He knows this would be a great win to get his tenure started off.
Right.
It'd be a great opportunity for the Gators, but at the same time, if it doesn't go their way, it's in no way kind of hampers what he's trying to
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
big picture. So but I like I said earlier, man, I just love the matchup. Utah is a very good football team. I mean, this is the team that some people are projecting to be in that college football playoff. So Florida wins this game, buddy. I mean, it's going to change the perception of them a lot, you know. So there's just a lot of intriguing storylines, man.
Yeah, and I had a long discussion with Danny Sheridan last night about this whole season, and he made some strong statements. He isn't picking this game, but he said if he was, he would play. He would lay the points and take Utah. But he says if Utah wins this game, it makes their entire season, because he said they're now in the stratosphere up here of the Final Four category with only a couple of games that are really that difficult. Maybe USC and Oregon, I don't know, and not many. It's a clear path to them to maybe make it to the Final Four if that happens. Florida, on the other hand, if Florida loses this game, beating Tennessee and then USF and playing good against Tennessee, their season is still intact. But if they could somehow win the game, it puts them in the vaults them to the top 25. It changes. But someone said, yeah, then he does that and the expectations go up and he loses to, it's one of those, you know how college football is up and down. I was thinking about this today and I revised my pick, Scott. I wrote this today. This will be the 1,121st Gator football game kickoff. All right, 751 of them are victories, 431 losses, 40 ties. In my time as a Florida follower, fan, and journalist, I cannot recall a more highly anticipated opening game than the one we're about to witness against favored Utah.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I mean, that game back in 17 with Michigan out in Dallas, that was intriguing.
But home openers, I really wanted to say.
Oh, yeah, home opener.
Yeah.
I think it hands down. I mean, obviously the 69 one when they will beat Houston, but I don't think the pregame was as big. That was just an opener that they made some history as.
Right.
But I just I'm all with you, man. I certainly in my time around, it's the most exciting home opener, and the great thing is, with the era that college football is in, and with where it's headed, this is going to become the norm, which I think is a great thing. Every game is going to mean something, and it always has in college football, but even more so in some ways now. And but again, I think Florida, we're all going to learn a lot about the Gators, but I think the guy who might learn the most is going to be on the sideline of Florida. I think Billy Napier he wants to learn a lot about this team because he doesn't know these answers either. He hasn't seen these guys have to perform on this level, so it's going to be fun, man.
Let's talk about him because he said in his press conference, I'll let you go after this. He said when he talked about would he be thinking about the moment, and he said he'll allow himself to drink it all in. And he says usually right before the kickoff. So I'm thinking, okay, what's he going to be thinking about with 2 minutes before the kickoff? What would you say?
Just knowing him, he's a guy who is deeply rooted in his faith and has talked about how much of an opportunity this is for him. And, probably some of that, buddy, just like, man, I got to believe that, if he does go in any kind of reflection mode there on that field before kickoff, I got to think he'd probably think about his dad.
Bingo. That's exactly what I wrote. He'll be thinking about his father.
Yeah, his dad. I mean, that's what he was. That's what his 2 brothers are. They're all football coaches. He said recently, if his sister could be a football coach when she was younger, she probably would be too.
That was a great
So
line.
it runs deep in their family, man. And again, there's only so many people who get a chance to coach at this level, and here he is at 43 years old. He finally made it, and I think we're we're gonna have a lot of good things, in the years to come about Billy Napier. I think to talk about and to watch. But right now, I'm just focused on let's see what he does in Game 1, and he's got a tough challenge,
Yeah,
buddy.
yeah, yeah.
The Gators head coach hasn't lost his first game since Charlie Pell back
I
in
know,
1979.
I
So
know.
it's a tough one to throw at him right away. But you know what? Win or lose, man, he's got a plan and he'll be fine.
He does have a plan. Just out of curiosity, did Billy have his 43rd birthday or his 44th?
43, turned 43. So
Okay.
he was joking last night. He's probably gonna jog out like a 43-year-old
I
guy.
did hear him say that. Yeah, I didn't know if he actually. Yes, so he was born in September 24, 30. No, that's not correct. That's the wrong one. It's Ben Napier. Okay, yes. Anyway, so he's 40. He's 43, not 44. So, Scott, look forward to seeing the press box on Saturday. I know you get jacked up this time of year. I do. I love just driving to the game. It gets me all excited. That route up there from here to Ocala to Gainesville. So it's on, baby. We'll be there. Let's do it.
All right, buddy. Look forward to seeing you, man.
Thank you so much, Scott Carter. Appreciate it, babe. All right, that's Scott Carter. We're going to go back to the green room. And excuse me. Should be the orange and blue room. It's green room in just a minute. Bob Redmond. Bob Redmond, one of the most knowledgeable guys on Gator football I know. And he'll join us. We're going to do a little bit of talking about what is going on here and what is setting the scene for this particular. Speaking of setting the scene, I just want to say one thing. If you're hungry, I got an idea for you. Here's a little something for you to consider. If you got one of these, you can whip out your own salad any time of day or night you want to, fresh off the tree. It's from, they say, farm to table. That's mine. It's called Grow Tower, and I got it from Towers.com. BuddyTowers.com is where you can get it. And if you got those kind of greens, they're all healthy. Coach Spurrier always said, put something green on your plate, and if you got that, you can do it. And here's what it looks like. My friend Tom Ingram, by the way, I'm glad to hear he got good health news. He and his wife Jen made this from the greens I gave him. So it's good. You can put all kind of stuff on it, and it's fresh. Got kale, whatever. We're learning to eat healthy at a late age. So if you want more information, DM me or go to BuddyTowers.com. Check it out. You can get yourself one of these and maybe make some money doing it too. So let's go to the green room where he's waiting patiently. Mr. Bob Redmond from Gator Collective and all over the place. You name it, he's been there in Florida football. Coach Redmond. How's that, Bob?
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Very good, Bob. Good to see you. I know you had a couple of health challenges lately, and don't who doesn't?
Yep.
We all have a few here and there. Gosh, I just got through with three of my friends, like I told you, who've overcome some serious things in the last 48 hours. I mean, where I'm praying every day for them because it's just touch and go for one or two of them. So, one of them got two of them got cancer, and one got hit by a bus, of all things, out in Mexico. So it seems like we have like a 3-minute rule in our age group. Bob, you're not in there yet, where we say, okay, you got 2.5 minutes. You can talk about your health. You got to move on because if you don't, Bob, we'd be talking about our health all the time, wouldn't we?
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough week, but I'm getting there.
I heard you had a Prance was telling me that you had a little of a. Well, I'm glad you're up and around and firing all cylinders, ready because I know you get fired up for this time of year in this game on Saturday. It's just different, isn't it? It's just all different.
It is, and
you there, Bob?
absolutely, and I think having a big time opponent. Yeah, is my stuff turned off?
Popping in and out, just going in and out. You're okay now. Go ahead. You're all right.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think it is huge. I mean, such a highly ranked opponent, highly regarded Utah team. You don't see that, especially from another conference coming in here very often. So I think it's with all the new stuff going on, of course, and Napier and Richardson only a second start ever. I think there's just a lot of stuff that that people have been looking forward to this weekend. And I don't know if I don't know if the expectations are there. I mean, because Florida has been picked to lose by the odds makers, I
Yeah,
guess. So I
yeah.
think people are a little bit realistic in that sense, but I think there's still that excitement there, and a lot of people think Florida will come out with a win on Saturday.
You going to pick them? You picking the Gators?
I'm sorry.
So you are picking the
Yeah,
Gators?
I am. Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're cutting in and out for some
Can you hear
reason,
me?
but I can hear you. Yes, yes, I can hear
I
you.
don't understand. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to pick the Gators. I think it'll be a close game. I think I think it's going to be physical on both sides, both teams. I
Yeah.
think certainly Utah wants to play it that way,
Hmm.
and I think Billy Napier wants to have a physical team.
Yeah.
Quite
Yeah.
honestly, so I think it'll be a physical game, and I think that'll actually keep the scoring a little low. But in terms of modern day college football, but yeah, I think I'm picking the Gators for Saturday.
They both want to run the football. We know about the double tights that they run at
Yep.
Utah, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of that with Napier's team. And not having
Yep.
seen that much of the Gator team, I haven't. You've seen more than I have. It's hard to know what they had that 1-2 personnel, and we know. I see they had Naquan Wright listed number one in the running backs. Of course, they only list one running back. Although they run,
Yep.
they're going to run a two-back set. Some I know, but I mean, so they got Naquan Wright there, and
Hmm.
Montreal Johnson number two, which is not too shabby of a 1-2 punch. And if they run two backs, I guess that's what we'll have back there. But how do you see it breaking down? This offensive line, Bob, is pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the units that we're going to see a big uptick in it. And I was talking earlier today, and the offensive line has kind of gotten I think a bad. They haven't been treated very well publicly. 2 years ago, everybody complained they couldn't run, and there were times when you needed 3 yards and they couldn't do it. But I mean, Trask threw the ball all over the field,
Yeah.
and so they didn't really want to run very often. And so I think that was a little bit of a misnomer. Then last year, there was no efficiency in the passing game, and so I think the offensive line, they ran the ball well last year, and so they changed, but they could. Everybody said, well, they couldn't pass. Well, there weren't many sacks given up, so it was kind of one of those things where just the inefficiency of the passing game led to, I think, people talking a little bit bad about the offensive line. But most of those guys, three of the five starters return. You bring in Osiris Torrance, who is, all conference to
Stud.
start, and
Yeah.
hasn't been in the conference yet, and he's already all
Yeah.
conference.
Yeah.
And then you have, Michael Tarquin, who the coaches love. I think the offensive line is a position where
Strong point.
they could very drastically improve, at least from what people think from last year.
Bob, you know the game well. Don't you think that this offense runs the ball differently with power? The offense last year was more finesse, it seems like, and throwbacks and getting isolation, whatever. This team wants to line up and come at you. They feel like they can block you. I think with this offensive line. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I do think that, and I think it's built that way. It's a really big physical line. I think the smallest guy is Michael Tarquin at 320. So I mean, they've got some size. They're very strong. I mean, just start at the center in Kingsley Equicon, and he's the strongest guy on the team, right? And he's
Yeah.
your center. So I mean, it starts right there in the middle and goes out. Torrance is a bull at right guard. So I think that I think they want to line up in power, and I think part of that game is, and this is I think the trickiest part here is, how much are you willing to run Richardson without without a Jack Miller behind him, with the other guys that were just a little bit less,
Yeah.
feeling good about, I guess is the best way to say,
Yeah.
behind the starter. How much are you willing to run Richardson and take full advantage of that running game with him in there, I think is a key question in the first few games this year.
Yeah, I was talking to Shane Matthews about that on the show on Monday night, and he said you can't play scared because if you play scared, you're going to get hurt. So maybe you don't run him as much.
Agree.
He feels like that he'll run the ball 12 to 15 times a game. And he, but he said he won't run the quarterback power, but he'll run him a lot, and I'll be RPOs and what have you. So how many times do you think he will run the football?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, and I think I think this team, in order to reach any real goals that it wants, is going to have Anthony Richardson do Anthony Richardson things. And Napier said that, I don't know, about a week or so ago when he was asked about that kind of thing. I just think early on it's a tricky circumstance for him. I do think he's going to run it. I don't know if it's going to be 15. I mean, I think that depends on how much they're able to get out of their running backs. If they can get Naquan and Montrell and those guys to really flash and do some big things without having to run Anthony, that's what they're going to do. And then you just run play action off of that, and you get a lot of things opening up for you. So I actually like their talent overall on offense. I think offensive line we talked about, running back, I think this is the strongest, even though Damian Pierce is gone. The problem with Damian Pierce being gone is he was so underutilized, it really didn't matter that much. He's 7 or 8 carries a game, didn't do you much. So I think they're going to be stronger at running back as well. And so I think if they can line up and just run with the running backs, I think he'd certainly love to be able to do that. And I think they're going to try that early and see what they can get done.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you about the tight ends and about how they'll be used. And let's bring friends in here. Say good evening to your friend there. You guys go back a ways, and we'll talk a little about the offensive scheme. You saw the two deep, I'm sure. I don't think it means that much because when you're talking about running backs and wide receivers, they rotate people anyway. I wonder why Whittemore was not listed as a starter. Did you read anything of that at all?
Well, I think
no.
Yeah, I think Pierce. Oh, who are we talking to?
That's Franz. Go ahead and let Bob finish, and you then comment.
I think Pearsall. I think depending on what they're looking at on the first set, you could see both of them in there at the same time. You may only see one or the other, and I think it depends on what they perceive the matchups to be. But Pearsall also is coming off of a foot injury. And what we don't know is how much practice he got in. Maybe they want him to, for example, if they're going to play, if they figure 60 snaps for the ball game, they may only want Pearsall out there for 25 of them. So that's how I perceive it anyway.
Bob, you agree with that?
Yeah, I think they're different guys. I think Pearsall is more of that flashy, get him the ball in the short field, he'll get you extra yards and make somebody miss kind of guy. And Whittemore's going to get you the first down, but you're going to need to throw him the ball at the first down marker to do that. So I think they're different kind of players. And they were listed, I think, as or, right? So it was Pearsall or Whittemore.
True.
I do believe that was the way they were listed. But either way, I mean, I think Pearsall has to be a key component in this offense because he is just a different kind of receiver than any of the others on the roster. Yeah. And I think he fits in that slot receiver mold that they are looking for.
Yeah. Let's talk about some other players that might be breakouts from you guys. We all think Pearsall might be the guy. I'll let you go first, Franz, then Bob. Give me a player or two on offense that you think might be a bigger factor than what they're anticipating.
Well, I think Trevor Etienne is going to be a factor in a lot of ways. They've got him listed in the return game. He's going to get some carries. I think he's also a guy that I'm told that they don't mind putting him out wide and throwing the football to him. He's turned out to be, even though he's only about 5'8.5", he's turned out to be a guy that's got great hands. And I think he's a guy that is going to be kind of like their jack of all trades guy. And he's going to play in a lot of places. I think they can put him in the slot and then use him as, for example, he can be a trailer in the run game, in the option game. They can throw it to him. They can run him as the straight tailback. I just think he's going to be that guy that is really their jack of all trades guy.
Yeah, well, he might run the fly sweep too, Bob. Maybe I would think he'd be the guy running it, wouldn't he? Pearsall.
I have to agree with a lot with what Fran says. Etienne's probably the guy that surprised me the most in terms of stuff we heard in the fall camp about just actually he's a bowling ball. He's a built like a bowling ball, but he is actually a playmaker at running back. So he's really intrigued me from the things I've heard, and really looking forward to him. I'll tell you the guy for me that's probably the most intriguing, and it's really the position. But Dante Zanders, I think, a guy that has switched positions twice, is back at tight end now after being there 2 years ago. But they've really laid on the accolades for Dante. And you mentioned it earlier, buddy, that the tight end's going to play a big role in this offense, and he's a guy that's listed as a starter. And nobody would have said that at the beginning of spring anyway. He certainly earned it through the spring and then through the fall. But I think that's a guy right there that, knowing that they're going to use the tight end in this offense in different ways, that he's a guy to watch for.
I really think that Whittemore is sort of a hybrid. He's kind of a half tight end, half wide receiver with great athletic skills. And I know he's not as fast as Whittemore as Pearsall, whatever. I just like what he brings. He can sit down in the zone. He can catch the ball over the middle. He can go deep. And I know the other guys they like as well. But, and I just noticed, friends, that Jaquan Fraziers, who hasn't really shown up much anywhere, was listed on the depth chart as second behind. I think it was behind Pearsall, wasn't it? No, it was behind somebody anyway. So here's a guy that, what is he, 6'5"? Big, tall guy, can run, caught the ball. We didn't see much of him last year, and I wondered if either one of you heard anything about Fraziers.
I'll defer to Bob on that.
I have. Go ahead.
I think Bob's heard more about him than I have. I know they're using him and Jamarcus in the return game, so they obviously like their speed.
Yeah, people talk about the guys that get off the bus and what they look like, and you want your best looking stud dudes to get off to scare everybody. Well, you Justin Shorter's up there with the wide receivers, and I think right behind him is Jaquavian Frazier.
Yeah,
he's
you're right.
a big guy. He's very physically built. And yes, I have heard things, especially late in the fall camp, about how well he's played. And so that's not really a surprise. I actually think that they go 2 or 3 deep with talented wide receivers, but I think they were missing that Ricky Pearsall type in that group, just the jitterbug, and that's what he brings. So I actually like a lot of the receivers, big, tall, fast guys on the edge, but, Pearsall's a guy that makes a difference, but Frazier's is right up there with them talent-wise, and he's got his chance now, and we'll see what he can do with it.
I'm thinking maybe Utah doesn't know a whole lot about Frazier's, right? He's a guy you can spot in there on third down.
Oh,
somewhere.
Yeah, they don't know a lot about any of them.
Yeah, and put him in that game, and all of a sudden you got this big, tall guy who can run. It's the kind of guy that Dallas Cowboys used to love to hide, So, all right, so let me ask you guys, got a couple questions here from our listeners. People wanted to know a couple things. Let me roll back here and find out where they were. Let's see. Asking about Lingard. Brent English says Lingard is still down the depth chart. Thought he'd break out by now. What's happened to him, Bob and friends?
I think he's in the rotation there, and all I heard was that I've talked to players just casually, and they say he breaks a long one every time that they have practice. Maybe it's an issue of him in pass protection or something like that. But Yeah, I'm like you, buddy. I thought that by now he would be like maybe running number one or 1A at running back.
I'm going to take a little different stance. I actually think it's just a really talented room. And I think that Lingard, everything I've heard was that he's, the hardest worker out there. Now, I think when Naquan actually got fully healthy, those two were back and forth about who was the hardest worker. But, Lingard's really fast. The one thing he doesn't do that the other guys do is he's not a jump cutter. So he's a straight line runner. He needs that big seam. And once he gets to the edge, he can take off. And I think these other guys provide that little extra cut inside. But I will say, I just think that this running back room is really talented. And I think that's just, that's the issue for him right now. And, I think they've had talented running back rooms. I mean, look what Malik Davis and Pierce are doing right now in the NFL. So it's, I think that's been the main thing right now is that he's just behind some other guy. And I actually think he's going to play every game too. I mean, I think they're going to use four backs, and I think probably mainly three, but I think he'll get some carries, and then we'll see what he can do when he gets his chance.
Questions about Chief Borders. I think he's number 2 in the linebacker corps at one of the positions I read on the depth chart. Anybody knowing about Chief Borders?
Inexperienced, but very talented. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that he's one of these guys that right now he's at linebacker, but I think that he's growing still, and I think eventually, maybe by next year, he'll be at a stand-up defensive end. That's just my take
position.
Yeah.
What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, again, I keep saying this, and I don't want to sound like everybody's great and awesome and everything, but I think we're at, and I don't believe this about every position on the team, but I think we're talking about another position right now that has, a Brenton Cox and an Antoine Powell that are just, they're really, really good players. I've been a big fan of Antoine Powell since about midseason last year and thought he should have been playing a whole lot more. And then Brenton Cox, everybody that I've talked to said that he's been I think of everybody on the team, he's been like the guy that has been the most impressive on either side of the ball. And so I think you're talking about Chief playing that position, and it's just a little bit, again, I think it's just talent ahead of him. And, that's part of the deal there.
We had him on the show, friends, some time ago, Cox, and he made a point, and this is just after he'd been called out by Mike Peterson, for not running to the ball. And he told him, I want you to be in the frame. He said, what do you mean? When they get ready to show that final frame, you got to be near the ball. And Peterson admitted it was a wake-up call for him. And I hear he's working on his skills really hard. And I know from talking to him and hearing him, he's really fired up and dedicated. He works all the time. If this happens to click for him, what a force he could be, especially with Big Yermont in there, man. I think Dexter's getting ready for a monster year.
I could see Jervon
but back
Dexter
to Brenton, I think
just killing it. Yeah, go ahead, Bob. Sorry.
I think Brenton just is a guy that I don't know any nice way to say this, but it's his contract year, and I think this happens to college football players all the time. Is that they can do it, and kind of cruise through things, and then it's their contract year. Having said that, last year he was injured almost the entire year. He had that foot injury that really slowed him down, and he still led the team in sacks. Yeah, and he still led the team in sacks, so he was very productive. I expect him to be really, literally almost twice as productive this year because I think he does have that contract year mentality where I need to go out and do my thing, and then he'll come up with it. And everything I've heard is like when I get practice reports every day, he was like the first name mentioned almost every day. It was like one of those crazy things, and I'm like, really? Come on, really? And that's the way it was. So, anyway, I think he's a guy that I just think he's in for that. He's there for that contract year and ready to bust out. But Bergeron, yeah, another one. I think that's it. He's only in his third year, so I think it's whatever to say contract year. He's just built like nothing else. He's just got a body that's just been graced by God,
Yeah.
and he's going to do some big things with it.
And he's hungry and pissed off. When he talked to us, he was, he ain't putting up with that 6 and 7 crap. He's really mad about it, and he's let people know. So, yeah, in France, I think there was some insinuations. Maybe the Cox took a play off once in a while. I don't know. Maybe it was because of his injury. I don't know. Let me ask you guys about the defense for a second. I am really excited to see what Patrick Toney does and what Corey Raymond does. You talk about a tandem. I dare say, can there be a better coach secondary anywhere if these guys do what they do? This secondary with the young, talented guys, despite maybe not having all the pressure up front they'd like to have, I think it's got a chance to be a strong point of the team. What do you guys think?
I like Patrick Toney a lot, and I like the guy who mentored him coming up, and that's Ron Roberts. Ron was the coach at Delta State and then at Southeastern Louisiana University, and he invented this thing called the creeper defense. And the creeper is interesting because it makes the quarterback really has to read 11 guys. He can't just focus in on, say, okay, I'm looking at, when you used to play the Giants, buddy, you had to find out on every play you looked around and you said, okay, I'm looking for Lawrence Taylor. You were in New York back in those days, and you geared everything you were doing around where Lawrence Taylor was. The nice thing about the creeper is you got 11 guys on the field, and you don't know who's going to be the guy. You don't know which of the guys down low are going to drop. You don't know which guys come in. Could it be a safety? Could it be a corner? Could it be a linebacker? Etc. like that. It's a phenomenal defense in the fact that it makes the quarterback have to see the entire field and make his reads. And quite frankly, I think you got to make the guesses. And I think Patrick Toney is an absolute superstar in the making as far as a coach. And our cornerbacks coach, my gosh.
He's only the father of the DBU at LSU. I mean, Corey Raymond. Bob?
I just look forward to our corners.
I don't disagree with what Fran said. My only thing is that Patrick Toney, nobody knew his name. Like, last year at this time, nobody in Gainesville knew who Patrick Toney was. So everybody knew who Corey Raymond was, right? So again, I actually agree with everything Fran said. But I think we're a little ahead of everything to say that, this is going to be the best ever or whatever. I think we got to see it. When you talk to the players, interviews and everything like that, and they just say, they call him the guru and they call him these kind of different names like that, he's got to be something special. And I think the fact that Napier is such a meticulous guy, that says everything you need to know about Patrick Toney, quite honestly. And then of course Raymond is second to none at coaching cornerbacks.
My friend Shane Matthews says, who I do a show with on Monday night and Tuesday morning, keeps telling me, has told me, that the problem in Florida is their front seven. All right, and they don't have enough. I mean, we all know the talent's an issue. And I ran across this today, and I thought about this. I don't know who this guy is. Maybe you guys do. I think he's a reputable guy. Top defensive lines per Max Chadwick. You guys know Max Chadwick? I don't know. And there's number 5 is Florida. Now this is, look at the SEC. 1, 3, 4. We know it's the line of scrimmage. That's pretty high, I'd say, at the senior defensive line. They're probably basing that on, not on depth, but on star power. They're probably putting Cox in there as a down lineman, which he's not, and certainly Dexter and Lee, those guys. So what do you guys say about something like this? Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, LSU, and Florida as the best defensive lines. Anybody?
I think that's a little high. I think they're going to be better than what most people have put them down as. We've seen like in Lindy's, I think they're like ranked 10th or something like that. I can't remember what Phil Steele had them, but I think Phil Steele had Florida as number 9 in the SEC, and I think they're better than that. But to say they're top 5 nationally, hard to say that. And again, I put it on, if we had a 330-pound nose tackle that you could count on playing every down, because I think you got to have a guy with serious size in the middle in the SEC. You got to have a guy that's a 2-gap guy to win in the SEC. That's just my opinion anyway. And I think Desmond Watson could cover 3 gaps just by his sheer size, but I mean, they got him listed at 439 now, and how can you go on a diet and gain 24 pounds since August and practicing every day?
All muscle. I don't know. I don't know. Do you know any? Did we know anybody who's got a nose tackle who plays every play? I don't know of any team that does. I mean, it'd be desirable, but we don't see those kind of players anymore. I don't think, Bob, do we?
Well, yeah, no, not really. But I think I'll give you a name that I think that could change the way. And I top 5 is way too high. I mean, they're basing it on 3 of the guys, and yes, Cox is one of the ones they're thinking of, is Cox and Princely, who's had a really good fall, and actually when he played last year, he played very well. And then of course Jervon, who a lot of people are picking all SEC or whatever. But I think that a name, right, that could change the outlook of the line in a positive way is Tyreek Sapp. And he had a great spring. He had a great fall. In spring, he was mainly used on the outside a little bit, but he's backing up Jervon now at his spot. I think depending on the teams they play, because he only runs about 265, but if Jervon's about 312 or bigger than that, even a little bit. He's such a big dude that you could end up playing him at nose some, and then Sapp, who's another playmaker, and all of a sudden you actually have 4 real playmakers at all 4 spots up front. And I think, to me, that Tyreek Sapp is a guy that could change the whole look of that front 7, just because he can play ball.
Yeah, but just friends, you might want to know that Oklahoma State's beating the Fighting Old Yellers 51-28.
Yes, I know, and I mean, it just. I'm guessing Clarabelle must have gotten knocked out of the game sometime in the first quarter, obviously, because if Clarabelle were in the game, we know that the Central Michigan, the Fighting Chippies, would be doing much, much better.
To no one's surprise, Tennessee rolling up over Ball State, puts you 2-7. The backyard brawl is 24-7 Pitt as we speak, and South Carolina State is trailing UCF 42-10. Just to give you an idea of a few of the scores. Guys, let's get down to it. I want you to give me your thoughts on this Saturday's game. Pick a winner, then pick a number of how many games Florida will win this year. I've said sort of an epiphany. I'll just go ahead and admit I wrote in my column earlier this week, I said I thought Florida, I couldn't go over 7.5 if that was the number. I could not go over it, and I wouldn't. terms of wins. And I said I think Florida loses to Utah in the Swamp by field goal. In fact, that's even called, I said, Florida kicking for the tying field goal late in the game. It's 31-28, missed the field goal. But I have changed my mind, and I said at that time I reserved the right to change my mind later in the week. And after studying, thinking, and friends, you know how I did at the championship game. I was out in Phoenix, got up in the middle of the night and changed my pick. I've decided to go the other way with it. And after talking to Danny Sheridan a long time, not that I have any great wisdom or whatever, I went back and said and picked it in my column for tomorrow. I've got Florida actually winning that game 37-34, and I've got them going over the 7.5 to 8 wins. And that's where I said, as we speak, who wants to go next?
I'll go. I think this
Go ahead,
is a
Frank.
team. I think eight's what I think that they're going. That is the doable number. I think 9 they can do it. I think they could win 9 football games. To get to 10, stars and planets have to align. And the reason I think they could win 9 is those first 7 games. If they come out of those first 7 games 6-1 at the worst, which I think is doable, very, very doable, I think it's a 9-win team. If they come out of there 7-0, who knows? That's when you call stars and planets aligning. But I think the first 2 games are going to tell us a lot. I think if they go 1-1 in those first 2 games, I think we're looking at an 8-win team. If they go 2-0 out the chute, I think 9 is really a doable number.
Bob?
What's your score for the game?
Yeah, what's your score for the game?
Florida wins
By what?
by at least 1 point.
That's not a score, is it, Bob?
He's not playing it right.
Not playing.
Come on,
playing.
Frank.
We're giving
Where are you going with it?
give us
Scores
a
again.
Okay,
It's going to be 3-2. It's going to be 3-2.
1-0.
I'm looking for something like 24-17. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring football game at all. I think that Utah is committed to run the ball. I think Florida is committed to run the ball, and I think it's going to make for a shorter ball game. And back to this thing, I think we're going to be looking at Anthony Richardson running the ball 8 or fewer times. And I think he's going to be running it out of, if the pocket breaks down or out on the edge, I don't think we're going to see him running too many quarterback powers like we saw with Tebow or anything like that. You've got to remember something. Levi Lewis, the most he ever ran the ball was 100 times in a 14-game season. And that was his quarterback in that. So that's 7 times a game. I think that's what's going to happen.
Bob?
Okay, that was a score. Okay, we'll do that. I'm going 9 wins. I look more internally than I do necessarily at the schedule. I mean, because Florida had Alabama on the schedule early last year, and they've got Utah this year. So I mean, I think that's kind of a wash there. But I'm going to go 9 wins. I think that I just look at the roster. I think the quarterback's going to play better. I think. Had they used Dameon Pierce more last year, maybe we wouldn't be talking about the running backs being equal or better. But I think you're going to get that out of this team because they didn't use Dameon Pierce more last year. Receivers, I think it's basically the same unit. Now you add Ricky Pearsall, and tight ends. That one, we'll have to see. I'm going with my guy Dante Zanders there, and offensive line. We're all expecting a lot better play. Defensive line, I think Zachary Carter is a big loss up front, but I really like the pieces they have. And I think if Tyreek Sapp plays like I thought, I think they're going to be better. I think linebackers are going to play better. I listened to a podcast earlier and the Utah guy thinks, that Florida is losing Diabate, as the leading tackler last year. is their big gain and Florida's big loss. And this is nothing against Diabate. The linebackers just played bad last year, and Ventrell Miller wasn't out there, so I think they're better. And the secondary, I think, is better too. So my point is, I'm looking internally towards this team, and I think basically almost every position looks like it's going to be better. And so that was a 6-win team. I think 2 or 3 more wins is likely, if not doable. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go 9 wins. And I think Saturday, I like what Fran said. It's going to be a physical game. I don't think they're going to, throw it up and down the field and do all those kind of things to really light up the scoreboard. So I think I'm going to go 28-24, which I think is a pretty, low score in today's modern college football. So I'm going to say Gators win 28-24.
I'm writing you down 28-24 here. Okay. And France, what was yours again?
So I said 24-17.
24-17, Florida. Okay, let's do a little business here. I want to ask each of you to help me on this. I'm going to tell folks about Renstar. Bob, I want you to tell us about the tailgater they're putting on. I have a graphic to put up. And Franz, you can tell us about Gator Bait and why people ought to subscribe to it, all right? So let me start by saying Renstar Medical Research. Good friends of mine for years. They've sponsored this show. They do great things in our community. They're always finding new medications for people to take and the problems we have in this community with different kinds of diseases. Right now they got one going on for psoriasis, which is a common thing for older folks. It's not life-threatening, but it can impact your life and it can last a long time. If you want to know more about it, you can check into this study there, the clinical trial study, which you can be a part of, by the way, if you qualify. You must be 18 to 75, diagnosed with plaque-type psoriasis, and not have any other major skin conditions. And you get to see a dermatologist free, also have trial medication for psoriasis, and you'll receive compensation for your time and travel. So check them out. Call Renstar Medical Research at 352-629-5800, or go on their website, Renstar.net. Find out what people say. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers for the health questions of today. Now, Bob, the tailgater. What's going on with the tailgater?
Well, tomorrow night, Friday night, they are the Gator Collective is hosting an event for Gator Collective members, and dozens of athletes, former and current, are going to be there. Colin Castleton and Myron Jones from the basketball team, different players, Alex Fudge from the basketball team, a lot of other basketball players, track stars, tennis stars, all kinds of athletes for Florida now currently. And then you have former Gator football players and other sports, actually. But guys like D. Webb and Andre Caldwell and Marcus Thomas are going to be there. It's over at the baseball stadium, at the new stadium, baseball. And unfortunately, I'm probably not going to make it because of my health issues. But people that are in the collective, they can actually, I think, pay to show up for this thing, and they get to meet and greet all of these great athletes.
There's a list right there, tailgaters. So if you need more information, let's see if there's a number on here anywhere. I don't see it. I'm sure you can go to the website, Bob, right?
Trinity Thomas is going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you'll go to
Go ahead.
If you'll go to GatorCollective.com, you're going to be able to find what you need in order to show up. But it's I think there's some special for kids as well. I think kids might be able to get in free.
Eat free, that's what I read. I heard they eat free. Is that right? Maybe I don't get wrong information. Go to the website. Don't trust me. Did West Virginia just score? Apparently they did. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. All right, Franz, you write for Gator Bay. You've been writing for it for a long time. I'm pretty proud of the people we got there doing good work. Lauren Meadows is one of them. Young Kyle Curtis is one. And this week we got a piece by the legacy of the quarterbacks, which is really good. There are not many people who could write a real legacy story on quarterbacks, But Carlton Reese knows Florida football really well. He did an excellent job on the piece, which is coming up in tonight's edition. So, friends, tell them about Gator Bank, why they ought to subscribe to it, and somebody just did just now.
Well, I think it's a good. I think it's a good value for your money because we're not restricted. I know some of the websites that Bob and I have worked for tell us, 600 words. A lot of times it's hard to say what you need to say in 600 words, and Bob and I can attest to that because we have written some epics over the years that may have taken more than 3 minutes to read. But you get good writing and you get good analysis. I'm hoping that we're going to start getting some stuff from a certain Robert Redmond regarding recruiting for Gator Bait, because I guarantee you, when Bob, you got a lot of guys out there that may be a little bit flashier and there's, they have crystal ball predictions and stuff like that. When Bob says this guy's going to be a Gator, you can count on it. Bob's the best in the business, and I've been around it a long, long time. But I think I'll start with the guy that's over here that's hosting this show. You get to read Buddy Martin. That's pretty darn good right there. Buddy and I have been around since leather helmets were in vogue, and they played football in sneakers because they hadn't invented the cleats yet.
Ball was stuff, actually.
Yeah, exactly. We've been around a long time. Bob's a young guy. Buddy and I are old farts.
I might have to say Bob was one of the very best at the global knowledge of Gators. Well, not just Gator sports, but I've read him and heard him, listened to him years, and know him, and his stuff is on. He knows what's going on, and there's a difference in a guy. And I know it's nothing against young people. I love them to death, but taking a tweet and making a story out of it is not a story. It's just not how it is. You got to have a little knowledge, a little background. And Bob speaks. He speaks with authority. And I'm not just saying this because we're trying to butter you up. Well, we are trying to butter you up.
Let's butter him up. What the hell?
So anyway, so that's good stuff. So check it out. Go to GatorBaitMedia.com and see what we got for you. And you get to participate with us. We're doing interesting things. By the way, guys, we're going to go out on an up note. Bob, I know this is a little bit homerish. This is pure homerism, okay? And I know we don't outwardly cheer, but we do like it when Florida wins. And Franz, you said this on the website, on the show a 3 weeks ago. That one of the problems is that the fans have got to get aligned. Now, we know fans, we love you all. But I've said, Bob, I think if you're going to take the game back, you worry about the NIL, you worry about the transfer portal. Nobody's going to save you. Greg Sankey's not going to save you. There's not going to be a bazaar from the federal government save the game. It's the fans who own college football, and to me, it's one school at a time, one fan at a time. So we organized something called the Orange and Blue Bloods. Lauren Meadows' wife, Marcia, who Franz knows, will be doing some stuff with us soon. They got a pledge, which she did. And last night I went to a college quarterback club, and I baptized about 50 people with the pledge, okay? Now, it may be corny. It probably is, but I don't care. Here's what happened last night. Okay, we'll find later on what we're going to do with that, but I want to know, are you ready to take the pledge? You ready, Gator fans? Okay, here you go. Right over left. Right over left. Repeat after me. I believe in the boys and girls from Old Florida.
I believe in the boys and girls from Old Florida.
In all kinds of weather.
In all kinds of weather.
And I won't back down.
And I won't back down.
Trumpet. There you go. You're baptized. Okay, guys.
We'll find later on what we're going to do with that, but I want to know, are you ready?
All right, so there you go, guys. There it is. A little fun there, folks getting fired up. And I say this, you can pick your team. You're going to be Florida. But in my admonition, support the team any way you can. Maybe you can't give them money. Maybe you could just be a fan and you can complain and grouse and whatever. That's fine. In the end, you have to be there and represent what you believe in. And I think that's important for all fans. That's what I want to say about
Well,
that.
here's what I'd like to say. If you come to the game, stay till the end. You know, I'm going to let Bob say this because he deals with recruiting. But I've talked to kids in the past, and not as many as Bob has, who've told me that they're very disappointed. More so with more basketball kids than football kids. I'll say because Bob's a football guy. I've done basketball, but I've talked to more basketball kids and I think it's caused us to lose players when they watch our fans do a mass exodus with 6 minutes, 7 minutes to go in a game, and they're leaving. You know, it kills us with recruiting. It absolutely kills us. And I got to think it does the same thing with football.
Yeah, I think the booing is the part that it can't happen. But look, I think Saturday night this place is going to be rocking. I think most fans know that. I think the bar has been set a little bit low for this season, to be honest with you. So I think if they play well, win, lose, or draw, the fans are going to be excited about it, and I think they will play well, whether they do win or not. But I agree. I think stay until the end is great. I think that don't boo the players. Just don't. It's just that's the part to me that gets after whatever, or the coaches for that matter. If you don't like the play calling, that's mostly what it ends up being. But it just comes off really, really poorly. I actually think this crowd's going to be so jacked up, and I also think that there is going to be a little bit of leeway because they know the obstacles that Billy Napier is fighting through early in his tenure here at Florida.
Hey guys, great stuff. Let's do this more often. Bob, whenever you're available, anytime, we'd love to have you back. And it's great to have a little roundtable talk with some old hands. You guys did a great job tonight. Thanks a lot, friends. Thanks very much, Bob. We appreciate it.
All right, appreciate it.
Thanks, bud.
All right. That'll wrap us up for tonight, folks. Thanks to Bob Redmond and France Beard. And thanks to you for listening and watching this week. Check out the new edition of Gator Bait. It's a good one. It's got a lot of good stories in it this week. You want to check that out. And thank you for those who are supporting us. So we'll remind you to support our sponsors, and Meldon Law, of course, and the folks at Main Street Community Bank and Registrar Medical Research. Go by Grow Tower, buddytowers.com. And thank you very much. Have a great night. We'll be talking to you this weekend. Maybe pop up on a Sunday morning for Orange and Blue Blood podcast. You never know. Stay tuned. Coming your way this weekend, it's football time in Florida.